यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिता जय गौरनिता जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद् ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य BBT फाउंडर आचार्य हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की समवेद भक्तवृंद की, समवेद भक्तवृंद की, समवेद भक्तवृंद की। श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की, गौर प्रेमानंदे। लैपटॉप है चार्जर सी टाइप। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुत पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the evening Bhagavad-Gita discussion. We are discussing today the 13th chapter, verse number 29. We'll recite this together, and then one from the Prabhuji side and one from the Mataji side can recite. Samam paśyati hi sarvatra, samavatashtam-īśvaram, na vinaśyatsv-atmanatmanam, tato yanti param gatim. Samam paśyan hi sarvatra, samavatishtam-īśvaram, na vinaśyatsv-atmanatmanam, tato yanti param gatim. Samam paśyan hi sarvatra, samavatishtam-īśvaram, na vinaśyatsv-atmanatmanam, tato yanti param gatim.
Samam paśyan hi sarvatra,
Samam paśyan hi sarvatra,
samavasthitam-īśvaram, na hinasti atmanatmanam, tato yati param gatim.
Mataji.
samam paśyati sarvatra samavestitam īśvaram nahi nasti atmanam tato yati param gatim.
I'll read the word-to-word meaning and the translation, and then we'll have the discussion. Samam, equally. Paśyan, seeing. He, certainly. Sarvatra, everywhere. Samavatiṣṭhantaṁ, samavatastam, equally situated. Īśvaram, the Supersoul. Na, does not. Hinasti, degrade. Atmana, by the mind. Atmanam, the soul. Tata, then. Yati, reaches. Param, the transcendental. Gatim, destination. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One who sees the Supersoul equally present everywhere. Samam Pasyan Hi Sarvatra. In every living being. Samavatiṣṭhantaṁ īśvaram. Does not degrade himself by his mind. Na hinasya atmanam. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Tato yati param gatim. So this verse is from the 13th chapter, one of the last sections of the Bhagavad-Gita. And this last section from 13.27 to 35, actually Krishna is answering one of the questions of Arjuna, which Arjuna has not asked. So I felt that if you want to understand this verse, you will have to understand the previous verse. And for that you have to understand the previous to previous verse. And then you will have to understand the questions of Arjuna. And then only we can understand what exactly in this verse Krishna is saying. So I will take an entire journey, a short journey, to the entire 13th chapter. Now, the 13th chapter is considered as one of the most toughest chapters in the Bhagavad-Gita because it is the Upanishad section of the Gita. And especially it is the Jnana section of the Gita, the 13th chapter. From the 13 to 18, Krishna is speaking Jnana Yoga, right? So it starts with the 13th chapter. And in the middle 6 chapters, Krishna establishes bhakti-yoga as the topmost yoga. But he actually establishes Ananya Bhakti as the topmost bhakti, or Shuddha Bhakti. That's what actually he establishes in the middle 6 chapters. And actually in the middle 6 chapters, Krishna is comparing Mishra Bhakti to Ananya Bhakti and establishing Ananya Bhakti as superior. That's what Krishna actually does in the Bhagavad-Gita. And it is interesting when Krishna shows the Vishwarupa. So there are impersonalists which are of 2 categories. One is called as the Mayavadis, other is called as the Brahmavadis. And within the Brahmavadis, there are 2 subdivisions. One are the Brahmopasakas, the worshippers of the All Spirit, the Brahman. And there is other, the Vishwarupa Upasakas, the worshippers of this universe as the Supreme. So by showing his Vishwarup, Purushascha Adi Daivam, showing his Virata Purusha manifestation with all the Devatas, after that he shows his Chaturbhuj and then he shows his 2-handed form. And then he says that this form is very, very confidential. And you can attain me, now this 2-handed form, how? Bhakti-yoga Ananya Shakya, by Ananya Bhakti. So this is what Krishna is actually doing in the Bhagavad-Gita. And in the 12th chapter, the question of Arjuna is, who is superior? One who worships your personal form or your impersonal form? So there also Krishna establishes those who worship my personal form are superior. Now in the 13th chapter, Arjuna is asking 6 questions which are familiar within the Jnani circles. Arjuna is living in a Vedic culture, so he is very familiar. And he asked this 6 questions. Prakritim purusha chaiva kshetra kshetragyam cha eva cha etad viditum ichchami jnanam geham cha keshava. So he is asking 6 questions. Prakriti, what is Prakriti? What is Purusha? What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragya? And what is Jnana and what is Geha? Now these 6 are, Vedic terminologies used in the Jnani circles. And interestingly, Arjuna is asked first Prakriti, then Purusha, then Kshetra, then Kshetragya, and then Jnana, and then Geha. But while Krishna is answering, he reverses the order so that he builds up the flow of thought, because these are connected. So first he answers what is Kshetra. Idam shariram kaunteya Kshetra iti abhidhiyate. This body is Kshetra. And etadyo vettitam pahu Kshetraga iti tadvida. And one who knows, the knower of the body. The knower of the body is the Kshetragya. Now it is a little ambiguous here in this verse. But actually Prabhupada and the Acharyas make it clear. That is one who knows that I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. That is so the Sankhya analysis which Krishna begins in the 2nd chapter. You are not the body or the spirit soul. Dehinosmin yata dehe. So the same discussion is now starting in the Jnana section. But in a more deeper sense, in a more highly philosophical sense, the discussion is happening. And the term is used, what is that? Kshetra and Kshetragya. The Kshetra is the body, Kshetragya is the soul. Okay? So now after defining what is Kshetra and Kshetragya, then he makes a very important point that Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. There is another Kshetragya. And it is Mam. I am that Kshetragya. Vidhi. Try to understand this. And this Kshetragya, sarva kshetreshu bharata. It knows all the bodies and it resides in all the bodies. This is referring to the Supersoul. So there is the soul as well as the Supersoul. So now there are 2 Kshetragyas and there is difference between the 2. So the whole analysis in this chapter is also, the Jnana section means analysis. So the chapter title is also, Prabhupada says nature, enjoyer and consciousness, right? This is Prakriti Purusha Vibhaga Yoga. That is the chapter title. And then Krishna defines what is Jnana. Jnana, he says, is Kshetra Kshetragayor Jnanam. Yat Taj Jnanam Matam Mama. This is my opinion. What is knowledge? Knowledge means to know body. Along with the body there is the soul, Kshetragya. And also there is Supersoul. So only when one knows these 3, then that is called as Jnana. So we all have to become, learned in MSc. We have to study MSc. BSc. There is MSc. Matter, spirit and controller of both. Matter is Kshetra or Prakriti. Then spirit is the Kshetragya, the soul, individual soul. And controller of both is the Supersoul. So repeatedly in the Bhagavad-Gita these discussions are there, but the discussions go in a spiral. The whole knowledge of the Bhagavad-Gita is more like a spiral. It keeps on building and goes deeper and higher like that. So here he is giving what is Gyan. He has introduced this new term Gyan. This comes first time here in the Bhagavad-Gita. And then he mentions in this verse, Yat Kshetram Yat Yadrikcha Yad Vikara Yatascha Yat Sacha Yo Yat Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Meshnu. I will tell you what is the Kshetra. What is the Kshetra? The field of activity is the body. It is made of 24 elements according to Sankhya. So I'll tell this. And Yadrik. Yadrik means, what is, here I put, what is the body constituted of? And what changes the body undergoes? Yad Vikara. And how, when and where the body is produced. Yadcha, Yadrikcha. Means when, how did this Kshetra come in contact with the Kshetra? How did the Jiva come in contact with Prakriti? So when did it, how did it happen? And then, and the identity of the knower of the field of activities. What is the identity of the Kshetragya? How do you identify the Kshetragya? Now the Kshetragya here means the Supersoul. The Supersoul. And what is the influence of the Kshetragya? Now again, what is the influence of the Supersoul? So this is the whole flow happening in the Bhagavad-Gita here. And then he mentions these 24 elements. Mahabhutani ahankara buddhiravyaktayamevacha indriyani dashekam cha panchendriya gochara. So these are the 24 elements. The 5 gross elements. Mahabhutani ahankara. The ahankara is the 6th element. Buddhi is the 7th. Avyakta is the 8th. And then indriyani dashekam. Indriyani dashekam refers to the karmendriyas, the gyanendriyas and the mind. So 8 plus 11 is 19. And the 5 sense objects, panchendriya gochara. So this is what constitutes the Kshetra. This body is made of 24 elements according to Sankhya, right? So this is Kshetra. And within the Kshetra, there are vikars, transformations happening. And what are the transformations? Ichcha, dvesha, sukha, dukkha. So all these transformations which happen, the emotions which the mind goes through, these are all the transformations happening in the Kshetra, not in the Kshetragya. The Kshetragya is transcendental. But because we have the desire, I'm just giving you one example just to make it clear. Nowadays children go to this, a studio where they can drive a Formula 1 car. And in the front there's a screen, and then they have the accelerator, there are special effects, everything is there, right? And then he's driving the car. He actually, his consciousness is rooted in that, screen. And he feels that he's driving the car, and suddenly a truck comes and he hits, and he feels, oh, I'm hit, Actually, nothing has happened. He's just sitting there. All the transformations are happening in the Kshetra. But because he identifies himself with the Kshetra, that's why he gets affected. So these are the vikars which happen in the Kshetra. So this is, what Krishna is explaining here. And now, if you remember, Krishna defined what is Gyan. Gyan means, what is knowledge? No, I don't want the definition which we have understanding. I want the definition what Krishna has given, which we just now said. What is Jnanam?
Knows the body and the soul and the soul.
Yes. Kshetra gayor Jnanam, yat tad Jnanam matam mama. That is my opinion, Krishna is saying. Kshetra and Kshetra gayo. Kshetra gayo means dvivachan. Because there are 2 Kshetra gayas. So this is Gyan. Now, what is the process of acquiring this Gyan? What is the process? So he explains these 20 terms of knowledge which we are familiar. Amanitva, madambitva, ahimsa, santir, arjanam. These verses. I'm not going through this. So this is Gyan. Now, till now, Krishna has defined Kshetra, Kshetragya, and he himself as a Kshetragya. He has defined Gyan. Right? Now he comes to Gya. Now, knowledge means to come out of these 24 elements. Not that you entangle yourself more in the 24 elements. Like suppose you are in a jail, and within the jail there is an ant, and you do a PhD in what is the brain substance of an ant. It doesn't take you anywhere. You have to know how to break the bars of the jail. So we are entangled in this 24 elements. And the process of knowledge is these 20 items by which we get out of the 24 elements and understand what? The Supersoul. Right? The soul has to get connected to the Supersoul. Then he can become liberated. Right? So he explains Gyeya beginning from 13 to 19. He explains what is Gyeya. And the Gyeya is Paramatma. Gyeyam ta yad pravakshami yad gyatva amritam ashnute. Knowing Gyeya, you will attain what? Amritam. You will attain liberation. And this, the absolute truth here is Anadi. It's Mat Param Brahma. Mat Param Brahma. It is Brahman. And the Brahman is Mat Para. It is subordinate to me. So Brahmano hi Pratishta Aham, as Krishna says in 14.27. It's Anadi Mat Param. And it is beyond cause and effect. In the material world, there is a law of causality. For every cause, there is an effect. But the Brahman is beyond cause and effect. And then he starts giving the qualities. Sarvada pani padam tad. Everywhere are his eyes, and the Supersoul is spread everywhere. So all the qualities of the Paramatma he defines in this verse. So I'm not going into that again. And then at last he comes to, now he has built up, you see Krishna has built up first Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, Gyeya. And then he comes to Prakriti and Purush. Now this Prakriti, this material world, the Purush is entangled in the Prakriti. Why? Because he has the desire to enjoy. Purusha Prakriti stohi bhongte prakritirinjan gunan karana gunasangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. So this Purusha here refers to who? The living entity. But there is another Purusha. Upadrushtacha anumantacha bharta bhokta maheshvara. That is the Supersoul, who is referred as also Kshetragya. So he makes a clear distinction between these two Purushas. One is conditioned and one is the controller of both, the Prakriti as well as the conditioned living being. So like that, he answers Prakriti and Purusha. And after answering, Krishna makes a very important point here. I am just narrating. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvatva vartamanopi na sa bhuyo abhijayate. One who understands this Prakriti and Purusha along with the gunas, is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth again. And then what are the different processes? By Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and then ultimately he devotes one verse for bhakti-yoga. Bhakti-yoga he devotes one verse. That even if one is ajananta, shrutva annepi upasate. Shrutva means just by hearing. Just by hearing. Tepi cha atitaranti. They will also cross over this ocean of material existence. How? Mrityu shruti parayana. Because they are what? Shruti parayana. They have the tendency to hear from authority. That is hearing from the Guru Shishya Parampara. So ultimately, this is the bhakti process Prabhupada explains. Now, I mentioned that Arjuna had asked 6 questions and Krishna has answered the 6 questions. Now this last section is very important. Krishna is giving a bonus. Suppose you buy a few things, you get a bonus, right? So Krishna ultimately integrates all these 6 philosophical terms and definitions, and he gives a very holistic, vision by which you can apply this in your life. So the practical application, is spoken in this section of the Bhagavad-Gita from 27 to 35. So today we are discussing 29, but 29 is dependent, as I mentioned, on 28 and on 27. So I'll just take 27. 27 is very simple. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jangama kshetra kshetragya samyogat tadviti bharatarshava. He says, O chief of Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, when you see anything, you should understand that there is a kshetra as well as the kshetragya. This is knowledge. That whatever you see, you should understand that, in material consciousness, we see only what? The external, the kshetra, but not the kshetragya. But you should see kshetra, kshetragya or samad. It is a combination of what? The Prakriti and the Purusha. It's not just matter. We are not just matter. There is a Purusha, living being. So it's a combination. You should understand. It's a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So this is first, application he gives. We all have experienced that, in the outside materialistic people, in the outside materialistic world, people judge by the externals, right? They judge by the externals. If suppose somebody walks into the big 5-star hotel and he's dressed not so well, then they will say, "Arey, this person must not be having money." So they just go by the external dress. But you have to understand that there is a kshetra and the kshetragya. And then this verse, when we understand that there is diversity in the bodies, but there is unity in terms of what? That everyone is a spirit soul. The varieties of bodies are different based on the karmas, but there is, in a spiritual sense, there is unity, because all are what? Spirit souls. And based on karma, they are in different bodies. So that's why he says, samam sarveṣu bhūteṣu. tiṣṭhantaṁ parameśvara. Samam sarveṣu bhūteṣu. You see equally all living beings, because all living beings are what? Spirit, soul. And you should understand tiṣṭhantaṁ parameśvara, because now this parameśvara here, Prabhupada says, both he takes it as a soul as well as a super soul. Because parama means para-īśvara. The jiva is also called as Ishvara. But parama-īśvara means super soul. So that's why Prabhupada gives both the meanings here. tiṣṭhantaṁ parama-īśvaram. Vinaśyatsv avinaśyatvam yah paśyati sa paśyati. Who is able to see? One who can see that along with the soul, there is a super soul. And it's not just the body. And that's why seeing everyone equally. By seeing what, and what do you see? That it is what? Vinaśyatsv. The super soul within the destructible body is not destroyed. The body gets destroyed, vinaśyatsv, avinaśyantam. But both are indestructible. What are indestructible? The soul as well as the super soul. And now he takes this understanding to a more deeper level now. After explaining in this verse, he takes this understanding to a more deeper level in this verse. So in this verse he's saying, samam paśyan hi sarvatra. That one who sees the super soul equally present everywhere. So now, samavatiṣṭhitam īśvaram. Now it is not referring to the soul. Now it is referring to the super soul. And the super soul is equal to everyone. Is equal to everyone. And the super soul, doesn't make distinction. For the Lord, because he is aham bij prada pita, all children in all species of life are equal for him. So he doesn't make. So similarly, when we don't make that kind of distinction, So two results are given here. What are the two results? Na hinasya atmana atmanam. He does not degrade himself by the mind. Mind. Atmana atmanam. So Prabhupada see atmana by the mind, atmanam the soul. When the mind, has this, duality of making difference, then what happens? Somebody you consider inferior, somebody superior, then, by that you degrade the soul. So that's why he says, na hinasyam, degrade. So the soul cannot get degraded. But what gets degraded is the consciousness of the soul. The consciousness of the soul can get degraded. The consciousness of the soul can get degraded. And then when na hinatsya atmana atmanam, then what is the result? Tato yanti param gatim. Then he can approach the transcendental destination. So this is what this verse is saying. Now let's look into Prabhupada purport. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than his spiritual existence. Because in spiritual existence he is one, but in material existence he is differently situated because of the different bodies he has got, because of the karmas. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living being, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality. So here, there is a previous verse we spoke about the vision of seeing not only the Kshetra but the Kshetragya, which can refer to the soul. But also here it is referring to seeing the Supersoul. The Supersoul is present in every living being. And he does not degrade himself by his destructive, and therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. So if you come to this level, tato yanti param gatim. That's what Prabhupada is saying. So this is what Prabhupada is saying in the word. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratificatory process, but when the mind turns to the Supersoul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. So, I treat others as I treat myself. So it means treat everyone equally. So once, I'm just giving an example because this is real deep philosophy. There's one big program in one of the centers, and two devotees at the entrance were there to welcome all the devotees. And the sannyasi came in and he passed by and he asked, why you both are here? Maharaj, we are, welcoming the VIP devotees. Then Maharaj whispered in the ear, every devotee is a VIP. That's what, this is the kind of vision, which, is being spoken here. So that's it. Prabhupada, that's it, says in this purport. Now, as I mentioned, there are two results of such vision. One is, na hinatsya atmana atmanam, does not degrade the soul by the mind. That means he does not degrade his consciousness. And tato yante param gatim, thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Now, what is explained in the Jnana section, which is dealt in the Bhagavad-Gita 5th chapter, is elaborated now in this section of the Bhagavad-Gita. So in the Bhagavad-Gita there is similar verse which speaks about this vision. Anyone knows which is that verse? You can raise your hands. Anyone knows? That is 15th chapter. I told in the Bhagavad-Gita first section, 5th chapter, Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmani gavihastini sunichaiva sapakecha pandita samadarshina. So this is that verse. So the more elaborate discussion of this verse is being spoken here in this section, that vision. So knowledge means to develop, vision. Knowledge means not that how much you know Shastra, whether you have developed that vision. And what is that vision? Pandita Sama Darshanam. He sees a Brahmana. The Brahmana is in the mode of goodness. He sees a Gavi. Gavi is what? A cow. That is also in the mode of, it's goodness but ignorance also. And then he sees a Hastini. Oh, power is gone. Okay. Elephant. And he sees a dog. And he sees a dog eater. So the Brahmana is in the mode of goodness. He is a Swapacha. Swapacha is a dog eater. Both are human beings. Brahmana is on the topmost level. And he sees a human being who is a dog eater. But he sees in both of them what? Sama, equally. Because in everyone, the super soul is there. And he can understand. He doesn't, feel, hey, what is this, low species person. Even you feel in your consciousness like that, you degrade yourself. So he sees with knowledge that because of his karma, he's got this kind of a body. And because of karma, he's got this kind of body. The varieties of body. And these bodies are changing. Karma can change. Right? So that is what he sees, that spiritual unity. So this is Pandita Sama Darshina. This is Pandita Sama Darshina. Now, for your kind information, to come to this level means you have to be self-realized. Self-realized. And when one is self-realized, one sees the soul's natural vision manifest. And only then, pasyan, the word had come pasyan. Pasyan means to see. But there is another level by philosophical insight. By studying the Shastra, we understand philosophically that the super soul is situated in everyone's heart. And that's why we offer respect to the super soul, not to the person. But the person might accept it, But we are actually offering respect to the super soul, in the heart of everyone. So by philosophical insight, at least we should understand this. And then there is the vision, the actual vision of the soul by which you actually see. So that is at a higher level. But at least by philosophical insight, we should see. So that is a point of discussion of practical application of this. Now there is a very last important point I would like to make, So there is a Kshetra, there is a Kshetragya, and there is another Kshetragya who is the super soul. So first verse spoke about that we should see that everything is a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragya. Kshetragya samyogat. And then one should also see there is a difference between the soul and the super soul. Okay, this distinction. Now the last point which is explaining in this verse is that when one sees the super soul, then all these transformations in the Prakriti, he doesn't make any distinction. And such a person, na hinatsya atmana atmanam tato yantem param gatim. So that's what, this verse is speaking. And that's why he sees everything equally. Samyak samapatishtitam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions you have? Or any comments or any food for thought? Yes, Prabhuji. Mic. Where is the mic, Prabhuji? Yeah, you can speak, Prabhuji. We'll try to. Hmm.
When we see Supersoul in everyone,
Hmm.
we don't mean this is still when we are in this material world,
Mm-hmm.
we have this. So can you explain that how we should overcome that?
Yeah, I did not go into that discussion of that Vidya Vinay Sampanna verse. Basically, just because this Pandita Samadarshana sees, in a Brahmana and in a Swapacha equally, but in his dealings, he has to deal, he cannot he sees a cow, he'll go and, massage the cow, but he sees a tiger, he'll not go and massage the tiger. He has to deal, in a practical way. So in that sense, from a spiritual vision point of view, he sees equally. But materially to deal, he has to reciprocate according to the species in which they are. So sometimes, I have heard this, and it's true, that many, when I met, especially businessmen, some industrialists and all, wherever I gone for book distribution in companies, they say, you spiritualists make a lot of discrimination among, people, so that's not right, But actually, if you see, everyone has an apartment based on his karma. You can buy an apartment based on what money you have, right? So similarly, everyone is situated in a different apartment, means a different body. And you will also, based on your karma, currency you have, you will take a place according to your this. So that kind of a practical dealing has to be there. It's not, otherwise, you cannot function. So from a functional point, it is necessary. From a functional point, it is necessary. That's the point. Is it clear, Prabhuji? Yeah. Any other questions? Anyone else has?
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, the devotees, they make difference between devotees. So about that, what you say?
It depends now. Basically, that's one of the natures of the Kanishtadhikari, because he lacks that vision. Prakrita smrita, So because lack of that vision, that discrimination is there. That means that we have not come to that point of self-realization, we have to understand. That is the point. That is how we have to learn. We see those things and we learn for our own practical application in our life. Not that we impose that on others. But we see the events and reflect it and ourselves and how I would like to deal in this situation, and then that's wisdom, that's learning. So why is Krishna showing me this? Just to make the point clear so that I can learn. So like that we have to see, that I should not be on that level. The famous pastime of Bhakti Maharaj. Bhakti Maharaj was an Afro-American, so he had a dark-skinned body, and devotees in America, they were making some discrimination. And he went to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave a very heavy statement. What is the statement, you remember? If you are making this decision, then what is the difference between you and them? He said. That, that was like a real transformation for him, So, if you are making distinction like that, then you have to understand that you are in bodily consciousness. Is it okay, Prabhuji? Yes. Any other questions or clarifications?
Coming to this point of not making a distinction between people, viewing everybody equally, how does japa, how does chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, if you do your japa nicely, how does that help us to come to this point?
Ultimately, it is the chanting of the Hare Krishna only which is going to elevate our consciousness. And when you're elevated in that consciousness and, by the mercy of Nam Prabhu and the mercy of the spiritual master, you get that vision. And although you might be not, well versed with the scriptures, but when you get that vision, then you can see that person in his dealings. You can understand that he's advanced in his consciousness. And I've experienced this many times in my travels, that some people are very simple villagers. They're just doing their farming and just sitting and doing their bhajan, but they are advanced in that level of consciousness, which, sometimes after years of study of Gita and Bhagavad and our sadhana and all, we have not come to that state of consciousness. One of the reasons is, I can say, is because of degrading our consciousness in the association of devotees and committing offenses. That's also one of the reasons. So I've observed this. So sometimes, they can perceive that, because they are in that state of consciousness because of their bhajan. And this all knowledge will be revealed to them. We have to take the hard sadhana of studying the Shastra and trying to apply it to vichar and then implement it, and then over a period of years, like that. But they are, just by their sadhana, by their attraction to Krishna and the holy names, this knowledge will be revealed to them. That's the difference. And that category is superior in one sense. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'll summarize what I discussed. I discussed that 13.29 samam paśyati sarvatra is the jnana section of the Gita, where Krishna is answering what is jnana chakshu. And for that you have to understand the flow in the 13th chapter, because 13th chapter is from 13 to 18 is the jnana section. But I went back little into the middle 6 chapters, that Krishna is comparing Ananya Bhakti with different types of Mishra Bhakti. And the Vishwarup Upasakas, by showing the Vishwarupa within the impersonalist, they are the Brahma Upasakas, the worshippers of the All Spirit, and there are the Vishwarupakas, they are on the lower level. They worship the universe as the absolute truth. These are the Virat Purusha Upasakas, which comes in the second canto of the Bhagavatam. So Krishna is comparing ultimately that my two-handed form is superior and you can attain me by Ananya Bhakti. So Arjuna asks a question, who is superior? One who worships your personal form or impersonal form? There Krishna answers in the 12th chapter that ultimately personal form worshippers are superior, and that's how the 12th chapter ends. Now in the Jnana section, Arjuna is familiar, so he'll ask 6 questions. Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana and Gaya. Krishna answers in an order by which he builds up the whole philosophy. First he answers what is Kshetra. Kshetra means the body. Then he answers Kshetragya, the knower of the body, the knower of the field. So this knower of the field, is, not a simple thing, It's one who actually has realized, I'm not this body. Like the simple example Prabhupada gives is, there is a field. Field means, agriculture field. And the agriculturist, he just, goes out of his home and its field is there. So he knows his field. But that's not really knower. So knower here means one who knows that I'm not the body spiritual. And there is another Kshetragya who is Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. And one who knows this Kshetra and Kshetragya, Gayo, means Dvivachan. Both the Kshetragyas, he is having knowledge. So Krishna in summary explains that he is going to explain this Kshetra, the Vikars in the Kshetra, and where it came from, and what its constituents are, and what its qualities are. And then he gives into the 20 items of knowledge from 8 to 12th verse. And by this knowledge, you have to know Gya, that is the Supersoul. So the Supersoul qualities are discussed, and then the Prakriti and the Purusha. How the living entity, because of the desire to enjoy, he identifies all the transformations which are happening in the Prakriti, he gets affected. But everything, all the transformations are happening in the Prakriti itself, within the modes, but he gets affected because he has a desire to enjoy, and that's why Karana Guna Sangasya. And then how there is this Purusha who is bound and taking bodies, there is another Purusha who is Anumanta and Upadrashta. And then how you can know this knowledge by different methods, but ultimately he gives one verse for by knowing through bhakti. And in the Jnana section, all these 6 terms, he integrates and gives a holistic vision. A holistic vision. And then what he says, first you have to understand that is, everything you see in this world is a combination of Kshetra and Kshetragya. And one should see in all living beings that there is the soul or the Supersoul, both are there. But in this verse he says that the Supersoul is equally present in every living being. And one who sees like that equally, na hinatsya atmana atmanam. And what is the result? Tato yantim param katim. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.